Welcome to another episode of Chera and Buckets.
On this week's episode, we're talking about a new comedy that we got a sneak peek of, and we're also talking about a new Disney Plus venture that didn't really hit all the marks.
So why don't you grab some popcorn and a Bud Light and enjoy the show.
Look at our lives, man. Spinning our wheels, bullshit job after bullshit job.
Can you just hit that on switch on the vacuum for me? Thanks, man.
Oh my God, turn it off! Oh, I'm gonna get fired again. Oh, shit.
It's finally time for that big adventure, brother. I'm talking road trip to the motherfucking promised land. The NYC.
We're not taking my sister's car, man. He will kill us. Your sister's in jail. She'll never know.
Oh my God! Don't tell nobody. I'll kill every single one of you white motherfuckers.
That was a scene from Bad Trip, this week's early review. I'm Stevie Secrets of the Stoughton Wind.
And I'm Willie Buckets of the Boston Post. As a fan of the Jackass franchise and the 2013 spin-off Bad Grandpa, I was ecstatic to hear of the release of Bad Trip, a Dickhouse production starring Eric Andre, Tiffany Haddish, and Little Rel Howery. It is safe to say that my expectations were blown away in what just might be the funniest comedy of the year so far. Bad Trip follows Chris, played by Andre, and his recruited best friend Bud, played by Little Rel, as they venture cross-country on a road trip to New York City for the opening of an art gallery hosted by Chris's high school crush. But trouble arises as Trina, Bud's sister, played by Tiffany Haddish, breaks out of prison and sets her sights on hunting down Chris and Bud, who stole her whip to get to NYC. Movies in this genre live and die by the gags. Movies like Bad Grandpa and Borat craft the story around the gags and the reactions they elicit. This is the strongest aspect of Bad Trip. The reactions of the folks captured on camera are some of the best I've seen. They bring a heart and a depth to the story that is not often seen in films of this genre. Eric Andre has been on a flaming hot streak this year, and Bad Trip solidifies that'll go on any ride Eric Andre is a part of. I would highly recommend this movie. I kind of loved this movie.
Yeah, it's good. I haven't seen Bad Grandpa, but I've seen Borat, and I sort of love the idea of a movie that takes place in reality and crafts a story around real people in a real setting. Even movies like Tangerine come to mind, like Sean Baker's movies, where the authenticity adds to the environment of the movie.
I saw Bad Grandpa, and I liked Bad Grandpa because, well, my initial thoughts was like, how could you make a Jackass movie have like a storyline, right?
Yep.
The only way to do that is to make the gags purposeful to the story, right?
Yep.
A road trip film enables all those, you know what I mean? The stops on the highway, the going to the diners.
It's a trope amongst all movies and television shows that have this sort of idea. The whole idea of, interacting with real people and poking fun of the characters and the people that they're interacting with, to having the scope of the United States, because you have all these different cultures across the United States that you can interact with, and in interacting with those cultures, you get a bunch of different reactions that, quite frankly, just make the movie even funnier.
All the scenes are, I felt like, elongated longer than an Eric Andre sketch or a Jackass sketch, where they're kind of they're doing the same prank as we see in the credits. Cut that burp. That was a shitty burp.
That's gross.
That was a shitty burp. It needs to be better. But they actually find the best person that does it. And the opening scene is so indicative of it, where a lot of times in this movie, it's elongated scenes with Eric Andre or Tiffany Haddish or Little Rel having a scene partner who's just a regular person.
Yeah.
And having this crazy, because it is shocking to them that they're having this interaction, and it works. And I was thinking, I was like, how in the world could people not see that was Tiffany Haddish or like Eric Andre, right? Like Tiffany Haddish is so huge. My only thing is like they must have shot this. I got to do some research, but probably in like maybe like 2016, 2017.
They also do a pretty good job at like not necessarily hiding the actors because they do look like themselves to an extent, but just the way they interact, it's like almost like I feel like even if you had recognized Tiffany Haddish or Lil Rel, who are like pretty popular, but if you had recognized them, I feel like they're almost like they're like familiar faces, but I feel like you wouldn't know. You wouldn't expect them to be in a prank show like this.
Yeah.
Eric Andre, of course you would, because that's his whole shtick.
Yeah.
You know, but like real actors, I feel like it's like you would be like, what the hell's going on here? You know, and you can tell in the end credits and throughout the movie, the reactions are definitely genuine.
They're so genuine, and I think like I was trying to think about it because you said like how are they going to get these people to sign like waivers? You know what is it? Sign releases,
like
releases,
whatever,
NDAs,
releases,
and like. I just thought about it how you see it at the end where a lot of like bloopers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You don't see how they like break. Like think about something like Impractical Jokers. Like just to kind of bring it to like the same level, right? Like you never see when they like break. You know what I mean? Even even like when you're watching like Inside Jokers, you know what I mean? It doesn't even like show like how when they break if someone like recognizes them, you know what I mean? And then you see it at the end, and it brought it all together. And also like just Eric Andre is just such a lunatic that he gives us all to every single one of these pranks. And I know this was a trailer joke, and I know we have our own gripes about trailer jokes. But the scene where Tiffany Haddish dangles Eric Andre off the roof of a building as a herd of people is standing out in front of a food truck is hilarious.
It was great.
And you know it's coming from the trailer, but it is still fucking funny. And this movie is just hilarious.
Yeah, and on the note of, interacting with the people, the gags and the pranks, they're never mean to the people, which I think is one of the main things when you're making a movie like this. If the person's going to embarrass themselves by having a bad take or being a bad person, then that's on them. But you'll see like YouTube pranksters and people online who will go up and it's just really malicious.
Yeah, it's like stepping on sneakers in the hood.
Yeah,
it's like what?
yeah.
It's like I'm not joking.
Yeah,
like that video actually fucked me up. Like I was. Really, like, because it's just mean.
It's mean.
They walk in, they have someone fucking 30 yards back just shooting them, and they step on people's sneakers.
I hate that. I hate hidden.
And it's also like
that.
fucking, baiting, like in the way, like in the hood, like. But we don't need to. That's not our show.
The thing
that's
about
not our show. we need to cut that. That's not going in.
But there's a lot of mean-spirited pranksters out there on YouTube, and it's mainly only on YouTube and in these like. Environments where you can get away with it. Because
I would say Impractical Jokers, for the main part, they're playing the joke on themselves.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
In Eric Andre's show, he plays the joke on himself too. He's just making an ass of himself and looking like an absolute maniac, which I think is funny. And it's like, if you're making a movie like this, you can't be outwardly mean, but it's like they're always the butt of the joke. It's never like them making fun of anyone or him being malicious to anyone or setting people up to look like an idiot on screen.
I agree.
The only person looking like an idiot on screen is going to be Eric Andre, Lil Rel, or Tiffany Haddish.
Yeah.
So I just think that's a good element to the movie. It's honestly like as crass and crude and as many cum and fart and shit jokes there are in it.
Well, the scene that comes to mind is when they get their dick stuck in the Chinese finger trap.
Yeah.
And the joke is like just on them. They're not
exactly. Yeah.
Like they go up to the guy golfing, and that was
that's a funny
hilarious scene because that guy like turns on him. Spoilers, like he's with him the first part. But
of course,
I just think this movie, like the main thing that I took away from it was how, out of all the Jackass movies, right, and Jackass and Eric Andre and the street bits, Tom Green, right. All these Impractical Jokers, the hidden camera prank show or Jackass where it kind of takes it to like stunts, you know what I mean? And then you have Eric Andre where he's kind of combined them both. Like I said to you, it's like Jackass meets Under the Skin, you know what I mean? This movie, it's crazy because he has a certain level of commitment to the bit physically, but it's also propelling the psychology of the story. Now maybe I'm just looking too much into Bad Trip, but that was one of the things that I took away with it, where so many of the reactions that are the backbone of this brief genre. You know what I mean? The backbone is the real life reactions, the funniest stuff, like Jackass 2 when Irving Zisman walks down and Peach's "Fuck the Pain Away" is playing and his nuts are hanging out by his ankle. You know what I mean? Like, all the reactions of that. That's just such a small sample. Like, this movie takes that idea and incorporates people actually reacting and responding in real time, opposed to just an O face and a quick cut, which I'd never seen. I had just never seen before.
And it makes
and
it
it
makes
was
sense
so
that
special.
It makes sense that it's like the Jackass guys were involved in this because it's a lot of slapstick gags that are done in pretty innovative and funny ways, which those guys are obviously masters at doing that. So it's like, you know, you're gonna watch Eric Andre crash through screen doors and
But it's
run
gonna
and
be
crash.
hilarious
He's gonna
every
literally
time.
just fall into things, and it's literally like Three Stooges level slapstick.
But
at
just
times.
some of it.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, it works because it's when you have the real people's reactions to it, it just adds to the hilarity of this, how absurd the situation is. So, like, the people's reactions also are, like, kind of indicative of you watching the movie because, like, it's like they do not shy away from cutting to people reacting. Like, that's half the movie is literally cutting away from the action and just cutting to people literally going wide-eyed and just being like, Jesus Christ, what is going on?
But they keep it going, though.
Yeah, but it's almost like you feel like you're a viewer, like watching this nonsense happen.
It's prolonged.
Of course, and you can
keep going.
And like we're in on the gag as the audience watching the movie, but at the same time, you can totally relate to these people just fucking watching this go down. You know,
Eric Andre get fucked in the ass by a gorilla. Like, there's a scene, you know, Eric Andre does a sketch in his show where he's giving out free smoothies on the streets of New York City, and he sticks his head.
Same joke.
Still funny, like, but like, I'm not saying that the stunts are, you know, they're really really fucking funny, but what gives it so much weight is the fact of the prolonged reactions and the fact that they actually intertwine. Like the scene where they go to the diner.
Of course.
And the waitress comes over and Eric Andre, you know what I mean? They start talking about their sex life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just this random lady in the middle of Virginia.
And she brings some of the funniest. That's the thing, is that regular people bring some of the funniest lines to this movie, and some of the best jokes
And it's
are
just
people
genuine.
talking. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's similar to Nathan For You or Nathan Fielder's humor, where it's like you let let regular people just talk to you. There's so many fucking weirdos and just interesting people out there that they're going to be funny. There are people out there that are funnier than 90% of the comics out today, and they're just walking around working a 9 to 5.
Because it's all this,
You know?
and I think that point is exemplified from when Eric tries to sign up for the army, and then it hard cuts
Yeah.
to the Marine vaping.
So funny.
Like
that
it's those
moment
little
is so
things
funny.
where
and
it's just
so
like,
human. Like, it's literally just like fucking that shit's
He's at
hilarious.
this
Everyone's seen
at
that
this-
guy. Then, you know, it's just the fact that they make him a character in the movie is just great.
each one of these each one of these pranks was given a lot of detail and a lot of thought to how they would progress it outside of just being a gross out gag, you know. So I really appreciate. I would give Bad Trip. I would give it 7.7 for me. I
7.7?
really like Bad Trip. 7.7.
I'd say 7.4. It's a good time. I really
a great
liked
score.
It. And if it's on TV, it's definitely going to be a movie that I'll jump in at any, because you can jump into this movie at any point and find a funny gag or find something memorable with it.
So make sure you catch Bad Trip when it comes to Netflix. Date still undisclosed. Chera and Buckets have the little down low.
A little download secret.
We'll be right back with Artemis Fowl.
We want to know everything about the man you work for.
The man? Oh no. This isn't about the father. This is about the son. Artemis Fowl.
Artemis Fowl is a story about the young heir to the Fowl fortune, whose memories are filled with his father's tales of fairies and magic. When his father is captured by a hooded figure named Opal, young Artemis must use his father's teachings to uncover the intricacies of the magical world that surrounded his family history. Despite being a film wrought with exposition, that's all I can really say about the plot to Artemis Fowl. We are forced to buy into a convoluted, underground world of creatures like fairies, trolls, and goblins, and mystical artifacts like freeze bubbles and the Aculus. It's a movie for children, but unless your child is Artemis himself, they're most likely going to be confused and uninterested in the story. I could say the same about my own experience. Trying to understand the lore of Artemis Fowl is a task I would not wish upon my worst enemies, and it proves to be one of the most unapproachable and uninspired watches of the year. Will, I give this about a 2.6. This movie, besides a couple so bad it's funny moments, I really did not have fun with Artemis Fowl, and I could never see myself jumping back into the mystical world of the Aculos and the ghouls and goblins of Artemis Fowl again.
Now, Chera, I want to get a couple things out of the way before I say my firm opinion on Artemis Fowl. So first off, I have no idea what Artemis Fowl was about.
No one does.
I have no fucking idea what happened in Artemis Fowl. Other than Colin Farrell, who's Artemis Fowl's dad, who Artemis Fowl, like...
Who even is, dude. Where do we begin with this review? Because it's hard to review a movie that is, like, so just convoluted and filled with just fairy tale nonsense thrown at you from all directions to where, like, you just have to be on board. Like, you have to just jump in.
I'm not done. I need to get a second thing out of the way. I need to get my things out of the way before I talk about my true opinions of Artemis Fowl. So first off, no fucking idea what happened. No idea, right?
Yeah.
Second of all, Judi Dench as the comrade fairy. So Judi Dench in Artemis Fowl plays the head of a militant fairy regime.
I think they're called the Leprechauns.
That infiltrate freeze bubbles to, from what I took, be like a fairy eraser, like erase things out of what's happening while they're in the freeze bubble that's controlled by a centaur.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's correct, yeah.
so Judi Dench, right?
Yeah.
So with those 2 points being said, I thought Artemis Fowl was, like, appealing. No, not appealing. I thought it was, like, I honestly, like, I was just sitting there watching it with just, like, a kind of, like, a smile on my face, just being like,
Listen, if you-
this is fucking ludicrous, but
if you
it's
decide
kind of
to
hilarious.
if you decide to just take a Xanax and just, like, literally melt into your couch, and you just want to have something on the TV that you don't even, like,
No,
care
this
about,
is
it
way
just
too
melts
frantic
you.
for a Xanax. Are you kidding me? This movie is like fucking snorting a line of meth.
Yeah.
Holy shit. This movie is the most frantic, like, awful. Let's just go back to Artemis Fowl's dad, right? So he gets captured by, like, some sort of, like, lava monster, right? Like, remember he's, like, chained up?
Yeah, he's
and he
chained
has,
up with, like,
lava on him?
nonsense. Yeah, like, some sort of mythical, like, iron is, like, around his arms. Some sort of, like, goo.
Some sort of, like, thick soot.
It's never explained at all. You never explained who, like, the opal, like, monster is. It's just, like, a green hooded figure. And, like, all of a sudden, like, you never see him get taken either. It's literally it's literally this
Like,
kid just
Artemis
watching
goes
TV.
in.
He's just watching TV and it's like, yo, dad's gone. Like, it's just like, your dad's missing, kid. You're like, what the fuck? It's just literally just, you're thrown in so, like, and I know in our last review we were talking about how we loved how Becky gets right to the point. But with Artemis Fowl, dude, I would have rather. I want a little bit.
I had no idea what the fuck was going on.
I know we love getting right into the action, but Artemis Fowl got right into the action in the worst way possible.
Holy shit! Like,
it is like, you 1 second you're literally like, oh, who the fuck is this kid? Artemis Fowl. Okay, his dad taught him about fairies. Next thing you know,
hold on, pause there. Straight up, like 6 minutes into the movie, they're walking through their backyard, and he's like, and that's how fairies come. It's just like,
which you're kind of on board with. You're like, all right, I get where this is going. You know, maybe there's a fairy world underground.
But then, hold on, we forgot about an important piece of information in the narrative of Artemis Fowl. The person, or I should say the character, the figure, who is giving us all this narration to drive the story along is a giant dwarf played by Josh Gad. who sounds like he's been smoking 3 packs of Winston's for like 30 years,
The voice
right?
is horrible.
The voice is objectively bad. I'll give it to you.
But it kind of adds to, at least it makes it interesting to laugh at.
Tell me that Josh Gad was boring in this movie.
No, I mean, he's not boring in anything. That's what he's designed. Like, there's a reason why Disney signed like $1 trillion fucking Josh Gad,
Like 12 picture deal with Josh Gad.
Because the guy knows how to fucking be fun. You know, he knows how to be a funny fat guy who like delivers funny lines in like a
and
silly
I wouldn't
voice.
even say he's exploited for being fat in this movie.
Not at
He's
all.
like really not.
No,
he's
not
like
at all.
exploited for being
He's
like a larger dwarf
You know what
in
Disney?
this movie.
Here's like a fucking galaxy brain take on like Disney.
Explode my brain, bro.
Disney is banking. We could use. I wish we had like a teaser for the beginning of the show because this would be like the teaser point. Disney Plus is banking on Disney Plus is banking on Josh Gad to be the next Jack Black. They're banking on it because they want him to be, you know, like in this movie. Tell me that Jack Black couldn't have played that character and returned a better performance, obviously, but. You direct Jack Black, you tell him to do a gruff voice, it's very similar. And you tell me Jack Black couldn't have voiced Olaf. Tell me Jack Black couldn't play tell me Jack Black couldn't have been in Book of Mormon as fucking Elder Cunningham.
You've put a lot of thought into this.
I'm just saying.
Now look, I agree with your point, right? Mm-hmm. But I have to disagree with the idea that Disney's banking in on a Jack Black type figure. I feel like Disney is looking at Josh Gad like this little piece, right? Like this tender piece of turquoise that they can plug into anything, whether it be animated, whether it can be a remake, whether it can be a fucking like a retelling of a book or some shit. Like he can do whatever, you know what I mean? And so I think they're banking on mostly people tolerating Josh Gad. But I'm watching Artemis Fowl, and I'm like, give me more Josh Gad. He is clearly the most appealing, the most thought out, and like the deepest of his character because he's telling the story from jail in the beginning, right? So he gets like peeled back, you know what I mean? His layers.
He's telling the story.
You know what I mean?
Just like think about that line though. He's telling the story from jail. This movie makes no fucking sense.
How did
it's so dumb?
How the hell did
is he
in fairy jail?
They don't. No, he's in like Guantanamo Bay. They don't show him getting
prosecuted by like the fucking FBI. Like
this movie makes no sense. And it's like just.
Can I say something?
It's so much. It's so much. It makes me. I felt stupid. I'm like, do I not understand a kids movie?
No. I am proposing this. It makes no sense. It doesn't care if you don't know what it's not about.
Yeah.
And guess what? Any other movie, we would be tearing in, being annoyed. I don't think for a single second I was annoyed with Artemis Fowl.
Well, it's hard to be.
I was not annoyed.
No.
Think about these terrible movies, right? Think about these bad movies. Like, I mean, middle school worst years of my life is not in that canon, but like think of like these bad, shrewd movies that are adapted from YA novels and children's books, right? Where we had this conversation last week about Becky, where like a child actor kind of anchoring a lead role, right?
Was he good though, man? Come on, was Artemis good? The kid who played him.
By no means was he good.
Was the fucking little girl good? I just didn't.
What's the over/under on his screen time? 20 minutes? What's the over/under on his screen?
But the movie's called Artemis Fowl, so it's like, why the fuck is he not in it?
Collectively for 20 minutes, I would say.
It's just like he's
so not in the movie at all.
No,
he's not in the movie at all. Another gripe, I mean, and this is the thing, the gripes that I had with this movie, I just thought they were like kind of like cute, like the scene where it's the big battle. And our fairy, who we've gotten to know through the entire movie, I forget her name, but like she's our fairy, right? And like so, she gets caught in like this sort of like cage fence type thing.
Yeah.
Now, like she is like a successor to Judi Dench's like head comrade fairy, like militant. Fucking fairy,
they're like
right?
militant fairy. It's just like they're the army.
She's like brute force fairies, and she's like our fairy is like kind of, you know, she's in line. and her wings get stuck in this
I knew you were going to bring this
fence
up.
box sort of thing. And so Artemis, like, climbs across and, like, unsecures her. And, like, 40 seconds later, she's flying next to, like, a G-60 fucking airplane, like a turbojet airplane. It's like, if your wings can fucking cruise, like, they can't get out of this, like, ramshackety fucking shed. Like,
See,
that was a little thing, but again,
no, there's the
didn't
thing.
bother me because
I know.
it's so fucking cute. It's adorable.
I just don't know why.
It's like she couldn't move.
My
And then
problems
she's
aren't.
flying alongside Artemis in a private jet plane.
My arguments.
So cute.
The arguments to why I think this movie deserves like a 2.6, and it's not even related to my entertainment value I had with the movie. Because, listen, I wasn't bored during Artemis Fowl, all right?
Not for a second.
It's hard to be bored when the budget is like $20 billion, and like it's like literally you could tell that there was just so much effort put into this movie, and like, I mean, like, a lot of that effort doesn't really show. But it's like, I think that my problems with the movie lie more in the high concept, more in the concept of the movie. Logically, it's like you're throwing so many things at me at once. Just, here's the Aculos, here's the Hill of Tara, here is fucking this kid,
troll.
here's the troll. And by the way, trolls are big and mean, but we never tell you that. And also, there's one centaur, but are they a species? We don't know. Also,
What
there's
about
little
the
gremlins.
goblins?
Yeah.
What
also,
about these fucking goblins?
I wanted more goblins.
Who are these jailbirds?
I wanted more goblins.
These jailbird goblins.
It's like you get everything. It's like literally just some fucking. It's literally if like a 13-year-old kid. That's way too old. Let me take that back. It's literally.
You said this point last week.
I know. It's literally like a 6-year-old kid was like, in the fairy world and the goblins live under earth. It's a kid's movie, but it's so
haven't read the
fucking
books. We haven't read the books.
God.
Okay.
But apparently, though, here's what I've read, and I haven't read the books, but apparently people who like the books think the movie does not do the books justice. They think the movie is pretty shitty and doesn't explain a lot that's in the books.
Well, the movie is pretty shitty. I don't think you have to have read a book to know that. But I think for me, it's like, I found this movie weirdly endearing.
In what sense, bro?
In the way that, like, it is so earnest with everything. Like,
I mean,
Judi Dench gives it her all. Colin
does
Farrell
she, though?
gives
She
it
really
his all. Fucking Artemis Fowl, even though he has the name of a fucking 65-year-old fucking Armenian woman.
They're getting paid
Artemis gives it his all.
They're probably getting like $8 billion for these to be in this movie. So of course they're fucking like gonna give it their all, dude.
Thinking Artemis is getting $8 billion.
Thinking he's not, like, dude.
I would okay. Look, okay. All right, it's not an objectively good movie. I'm not saying that it's an objectively good movie, but what I'm saying is it is batshit lunatic crazy,
Oh, it's
where
so
it doesn't
bizarre.
give you anything to latch onto, and it just keeps going. It keeps going. It just keeps fucking flying
but,
at
like,
you, and you're like, where
like
is the
you
eject
said, bro.
button?
Like
I haven't
you
even
said,
put
like,
on my seatbelt yet.
It's just like a movie that if you asked me when it was over, like, what was that movie about? I would be like, I have no fucking idea, bro.
That was your intro.
Yeah, like, I
the
don't
intro
know.
is, what is this movie about? You're like,
I
that's
don't
all
know.
I can
Writing
give
the
you.
synopsis for this movie was the hardest task of my life. It's like, I guess it's about like a kid who like has to like figure out the fairy world in order to like save his dad from some figure that like is maybe a fairy, maybe not. Maybe they explain that in one scene, but like, I'm so distracted by the centaur that's telling me this point, and the fact that he's literally neighing and like going like this, so it's like,
and controlling the freeze bubble.
and like, yeah, and
as
it's like
he's neighing.
wild dialogue that's like explaining the movie is being said. There's like gremlins running around. It's like this movie is just fucking like, it's overload.
Bludgeoning me.
It's just hitting you over the fucking head and just trying to make it just. It's literally just like, boom, ADD. It's just like I could not wrap my head around anything that's going on.
What I took away with it,
It's like, Will, if I just say this
okay.
one point, Will, if I were to ask you what, all right, if I were to ask you what the central objective of this movie, the Aculos, which is a glowing orb, if I was to ask you what is the Aculos and what does it do, what would your answer be for me?
my answer would be Josh Gad had it in his belly for a little bit towards the end of the movie. And
he
everyone
didn't.
looked at it and it glowed. That scene happened, correct?
But it wasn't actually. Remember, at the end he pulls it out. It's a fake Aculos.
Well, that's
that's what you get with this movie. Literally, like right when you think it's like maybe I get it, you get thrown another curveball, and you're like, no, I actually don't know what the fuck's going on here.
yeah. All I got from it was some fucking British or Australian kid who likes Men in Black needs to get his dad back from a soot
And the
monster.
kid is like so.
Did you like that one?
That was pretty good.
he's like,
Yeah.
That's like also that scene where the fairies take a Men in Black style wand and Men in Black style shades to take away the rays to wipe everyone's memory as they're wiping
it's
everyone's
like-
memory. Did like that like because I watched that and we didn't say anything. And
was just
that
like-
was
My thing with
literally
Artemis
Artemis
Fowl.
is looking like Agent K as he's doing it. It's
Here's my thing with Artemis Fowl, dude, is it was like an attempt at like a world building, a like trilogy of movies, like similar to Harry Potter or
it was begging for.
well, you know what I mean? It like wants to be this big. Can you grab me a beer too?
Keep going.
The thing is, it's begging to be the next Harry Potter, the next Lord of the Rings, the next fucking Perseus the Lightning Thief. It's the next Lightning Thief. Like it wants to be the next one of these young adult trilogies, but I don't know if it's the source material or what, but it just doesn't. It's just too much. It's almost like it's not even paying homage to those things because it's just it's like an amalgamation of all the young adult shit thrown into one movie. It's like you had a fucking AI software write a young adult movie.
Well, I think
It's
what you're
insane.
saying is the fact that people who aren't familiar with the source material are not going to be pulled in to just see this movie.
No.
You know, it's like if I were like a fucking 10-year-old kid and I saw a PG movie, like I'd be like, all right, like PG, like I'm 10, like let's fucking get it. You know what I mean?
True.
It's based on a book, like Bridge to Terabithia is good, fam.
I mean, if I
and
was
I
a
put
little-
it on, and like this movie came out, it's so dense
It's so dense.
and so beyond the like just. And I'm not saying that children's movies have to be dumbed down.
No, but
I'm
it's
just
like-
saying that this movie is like you fucking have been on Ritalin for 17 days.
Yeah.
And you wrote about trolls and fairies and goblins.
you were trying to write the next
that
Game
are
of
living
Thrones
under
and
the
you
earth.
wrote this fucking movie. Dude, like
It's ludicrous.
it's also like I'm
It's
imagining
a
like
fucking trip.
I'm imagining some dad from Swamp Scott, like if COVID didn't happen and like this movie went out in theaters, I'm imagining some dad from Swamp Scott taking his little like 8-year-old kid to go see Artemis Fowl and like going to the Revere fucking multiplex, and it's like they both don't know what's going
No.
on. This movie ends and they're both just like, what the fuck was going on?
They walk out, they don't say anything until they get like 3 yards away from their Volvo, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
the dad turns to the daughter and just goes, well, that's 2 hours I'll never get back.
Yeah.
Because he would say that,
would
you know
say
what I mean?
something along
He
those
wouldn't
lines.
say it in the theater.
No.
He wouldn't try to like burst the bubble that quick,
Yeah,
you know
I'm
what
just
I mean?
like, it's just like a movie for kids. It's like a movie that you would take your kid to see, but it's also like
Because I get
kids
it.
and adults are going to be like, what the fuck's going on? I guess there's enough flashing lights and fun little fairies and fucking whatnot for kids to have fun with it.
But I think we get it. Where Artemis Fowl, he looks like a relatable fucking like what,
He's a
like
cool
11
teen.
11
Yeah, like,
to
yeah.
13-year-old boy, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's a good message to like try to have like, you know, especially when it's adapted from a popular like series, whatever. But
Yeah.
like, and the thing that's crazy is like this movie is not a case of it taking a source material and blanding it. Again, we haven't read the source material,
Yeah,
so
it's like,
we
we're
don't-
acting like we know what the fuck this is like.
I still have no fucking idea what this movie's about, but it's not about taking a source material and like making it boring, because this movie was literally like balls to the wall action.
yeah.
It was ludicrous. And I mean, just like at the end of the day, like I had some fun and I didn't hate any part of the process. I think that was a big thing for me.
Yeah, you
because
didn't need to understand what was going on in order
No.
to have a good time with Artemis
No.
Fowl.
go back last week. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Irresistible was frustrating to sit through.
true.
Artemis Fowl was just kind of like fun and ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I liked it, and it didn't make me disdain it. So I would give Artemis Fowl a 5-1.
That's reasonable. I still stand by my really low score of 2-1.
Look, you gotta know if you're gonna recommend it to someone, you gotta know your crowd. It's not a universal recommend. You gotta know what you're going into, because
The thing is, though, it's like, listen, if like we were like 20 beers deep and seeing it in IMAX, I'd probably have had a good time. But whatever.
You'd probably get the spins during the trailers. As we're watching the Tenet 10-minute preview, you turn me from freaking out. And I look at you and I'm like, I'm freaking out too.
Let's get out of here.
Out. We sprint out of the Reading IMAX. We run to Fuddruckers, just like take all the pickle chips, just in our bomb. So it's a 5-1 for me for Artemis Fowl. Well, that does it for this week's Chera and Buckets. Definitely go check out Bad Trip, our early review of the week. And if you're feeling it, rent Artemis Fowl. It's a view that some people could be worth palating. Me and Stevie might have different views. What do we got next week?
Next week, we have a doozy. We have Palm Springs, which is going to be the new romantic comedy with Andy Samberg. I'm excited for that one. And then we're also tackling the elephant in the room, Lin-Manuel Miranda's Hamilton. So you're going to want to make sure you have your Bud Light for that one, buddy. It's going to be a hell of a ride.
So why don't you grab some popcorn and a Bud Light, and we'll see you at the theater.
Cheers.
Cheers.